Hi, welcome to the Clear and Present Truth Bible Study. In today's study, we're going to answer the question, was there a Big Bang or is there a big God? Before we get into today's study, I just want to remind everyone that if you hit the like button and the subscribe button, you're going to get notified the next time a new Bible study comes out. So I hope that you take advantage of that. Okay, now let's get into today's study. We're answering the question, was there a Big Bang or is there a big God? I want you to imagine for a moment that you're walking down the street of your neighborhood. It's a typical sunny afternoon, and as you're walking, the breeze is glistening in your face, the sun is gleaming down upon you, and all of a sudden you see a huge explosion in the sky. And ladies and gentlemen, when you see this explosion, you see pieces of metal, aluminum, glass, rubber, all types of materials exude from this huge explosion. And as you watch it, you run and hide behind a tree trying to figure out what's going on. And as you see the debris coming down, falling from the sky onto the earth, you can see all the materials falling down together. And then, ladies and gentlemen, as the smoke clears, you begin to see something is taking shape. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the smoke clears and you begin to see the creation of a brand new car. And as you sit there and admire this brand new creation, all of a sudden something hits you on the head. And as you look to see what it was, it's the key fob to the car. One of the most common questions that we are asked, ladies and gentlemen, is how did we get here? And you see, there are millions who believe that life as we know it on this planet began with a huge explosion. And from that huge explosion, life began. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that huge explosion and that life that they began, believe with this huge explosion, is what we call today evolution. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like for us to approach today's study from the standpoint that we don't know how we got here. We know we're here. We just aren't sure how we arrived. Now, it could be that we evolved, and it could be that there was a big explosion millions of years ago, and that's how we got here. Or it could be that we are intelligently designed. But let's just get now this is just a high overview, a general understanding of the theory of evolution. Now, you must understand that there are variations to this, and so I can't cover every particular variation, but just so you know, this is just a general idea of what evolutionists believe. And let's determine how we got here, but let's look at it through the concept of evolution. So here's what evolutionists believe. Millions of years ago, there was a big explosion in the middle of outer space. From this explosion, asteroids began to fly out or exude from this explosion. And within these asteroids, there was water. And so the asteroids which were carrying water, one of those asteroids, at least one of those asteroids, hit this planet called Earth. Now, remember I told you within this asteroid there was water. Now, in that water, there were organic compounds. All right. Now, what evolutionists believe is that at the right time and at the right place, lightning struck that water that came from the asteroid, that came from the Big Bang, and that lightning strike hit the water that had the organic compound. And from that lightning strike, the first cell was created. Now, what they believe is that cell began to divide or split. And then that cell would split. And then that cell would split. And ladies and gentlemen, after a while, that life took the form of a worm. or rather, let me just say a worm-like creature. Now, from there, that worm-like creature turned into a fish-like creature. So now we're swimming in the ocean. We have gills and everything, and we're swimming in the ocean. Then that fish-like creature transitioned to a lizard-like creature and began walking on land. And then from the lizard-like creature, we transitioned to a cat-like creature. That cat-like creature evolved into an ape-like creature. And the ape-like creature continued to evolve to look like, well, look at yourself in the mirror. Yes, that ape-like creature, from what evolutionists believe, that ape-like creature turned into what you and I look like today, which we call ourselves humans. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a simple yet high-level understanding of evolution. Now, I do find it interesting is that evolutionists, again, believe that we came from a worm, that worm evolved into a fish, that fish evolved into a cat, and that cat evolved into an ape, and then the ape evolved into a human. We see their evolutionary process. What we don't see is any of the in-between stages of that evolution. But I digress. This is simply what evolutionists believe. Now, what you have to understand is that evolutionists also believe that the features that we have today, we didn't always have these features. These features that we have come from a process called natural selection. Natural selection says that, hey, if it wasn't for this process, that every human would still be swimming around in the ocean like that little worm. So the question is, what is natural selection? Natural selection is an adaptation. Think about it from the scenario that I gave you with the car. Remember, the car came from the big explosion in the sky. Remember the pieces of aluminum, rubber, glass, and metal, and all those pieces that came and it started forming a car. Well, the car wasn't completely formed yet. Now, I want you to imagine that it rained every day and all day it rained. Well, the car would essentially at a certain time, it would detect that, wait a minute, it's raining and raining and raining. So guess what natural selection would do? Natural selection would deem that the car needed windshield wipers. And so the car would, over, I guess, millions of years, it would just simply start to form windshield wipers. That's what natural selection is. So, ladies and gentlemen, evolutionists believe that our teeth, the sizes of our brain, our thumbs, things like that, were all part of the natural selection process. Natural selection said, well, now wait a minute, they can't survive on land, so we gotta create lungs. Natural selection says they need to pick up things with their hands, but they need a thumb. Natural selection says they need to chew things, so they have to have teeth to chew it with. That's what evolutionists believe. They believe that natural selection, our bodies essentially detected it or understood, and they begin to form what was needed in order for us to survive. That's natural selection. So in simplistic terms, natural selection gives us what we need in order to survive on this planet. Now, when I think about natural selection, I thought, with all the gun violence that happens in this country, with all the gun violence that happens around the world, it would seem that natural selection at some point would start to give us bulletproof skin, right? Or what about hunger? There's countless people that die every year just from hunger alone. Wouldn't natural selection give us the ability to not have to eat anymore? Or at least it would be nice if natural selection gave us night vision, because I am so tired of stubbing my toe on that chair that my wife keeps leaving in the middle of our bedroom floor.
I got a bad feeling about this.
But I better digress. This is what evolutionists believe. Their theory is called natural selection and is part of the evolutionary process. Now, here's my point within this whole theory. Whatever creates you, in my opinion, that is God. In other words, if evolutionists believe that we came from a Big Bang, then my view is the Big Bang to them, whether they call it God or not, that Big Bang is God. If you believe that the universe created us, whether you believe it or not, that universe to you is God. You see, I believe that God is whoever or whatever created us. Whatever gave us life from the beginning, that, my friends, is God to you. Ladies and gentlemen, there are many kind and loving evolutionists who believe in this theory. But ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we were created with a purpose. I believe that somewhere, at some point in history, there is a being that was powerful enough to create us and to create us with a purpose. I don't believe that this being created us and then retroactively realized or realized that we needed teeth and then retroactively created teeth. I don't believe that this being realized that we would have to walk and then retroactively gave us legs and feet. I believe that how you see our human bodies today, that's exactly how we began. The first person that ever existed on this earth, I believe that's exactly how they looked. I don't believe they swam in an ocean like a worm. I don't believe they had gills like a fish. I don't believe they meowed like a cat. And I don't believe they jumped in trees like apes. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that the way we look now, that is the way that our Creator designed us, fearfully and wonderfully made. And ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the human body, and if you look at the way the world is created, and we're going to examine some of these concepts in our next Bible study, but if you just understand that the planet Earth is just enough distance from the sun to support life, I believe this being created us with brains that are faster than the fastest computer. I believe that this being gave you a heart that pumps blood everywhere in your body that is needed. I believe that this being created trees on this planet that give us oxygen so that we can breathe and live. And ladies and gentlemen, I believe it didn't take him millions of years to do this. And I'm going to show you in future studies that I believe this being is so powerful that he simply spoke it and it existed. So ladies and gentlemen, there are millions of people around this planet who believe in a Big Bang. But ladies and gentlemen, when I look at the evidence, I know that there is a big God. And if you want to know more about this big God, I want you to join me in our next study as we answer the question, who is God? But for now, I thank you for watching this study, and I pray that you join me, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for our next Bible study that's coming out, for our next study on who is God. Thank you, and God bless.